Hello dear learners, welcome back to my channel, Wakamcho Classes. And today in this particular video, we'll be dealing with one of the very important poems written by TS Eliot. And the name of the poem is The Wasteland. Now, before I start my video, if you haven't yet subscribed my channel, please like, share and to subscribe my channel for more informative videos on different literary topics. So without further delay, let us begin our video here. The Wasteland first appeared in the Dial and was published in the book form in 1922. Now, there was a hostile criticism initially when it was published, right? When the poem was published, there were a lot of criticisms, okay, and they were not good criticisms, they were hostile ones. Alec Brown remarked, "It is a set of Surter poems tacked together." And this was because of the criticisms largely were based on the fact because of the nature of the poem, because it was fragmentary in nature, and a lot of criticisms were hauled upon the poem. Okay, like here we have one of them. It is a set of sort of poems tacked together. Criticisms were largely due to fragmentary nature of the poem. So as I was telling you, because of the nature of the poem, because when we read the poem, even you can witness the fact that the poem are altogether different. Okay, different sections having different themes and all. So criticisms were largely due to this fragmentary nature of the poem. The poem opens with a picture of this modern world, a picture made up of broken fragments of idle conversation rather. Now, the poet Eliot gives his impression about the modern people through terraces. Now, this is very important. Remember all the impression that the poet makes. Okay, in fact, we can say that terraces becomes a kind of a poet, mouthpiece of the poet, and all his thoughts, okay, all his observations, he places in this character that is Terraces. Remember, Terraces finds the modern civilization futile and dead. Nothing spiritual and idealistic can thrive in the unproductive land. Only red rock, now this is an important point, Christian church can offer shelter to humanity from the heat of the sun. So in this, modern civilization where everything is futile, where there can be no spiritual regeneration, so only a ray of hope we can say is red rock, a Christian church, okay, under the shelter of which the humanity can survive from this chaotic situation. April, which is supposed to be the month of spring and rebirth, remember this, sorry, yeah, is bad and cruel month for the citizens of the Wasteland. The line is used to indicate that the citizens of the Wasteland are spiritually dead, remember, and any idea of spiritual regeneration is painful to them. So April, which is supposed to be a season full of life, okay, full of beauty, here the poet describes it as a cruel month, okay, for the people who are living in the wasteland. Now, this also reminds us of Chaucer, remember, Geoffrey Chaucer, and is the prologue to the Canterbury Tales, where the poet refers to April with sweet sours. Remember, so this is a contrast. We can say that we find in the description of this particular month, and whereas Chaucer, in his prologue to the Canterbury Tales, describes and refers to the month of April as month where we have sweet sours, but here poet that is Eliot, he is kind of describing the month to be cruel for the citizens of the West Land. That's a very important point you got to remember. Now, what are the themes that we can find in this particular poem? Now, millions of people were affected by war, directly or indirectly. Wars shook the entire world and devastated the prevalent value system. Wars made people to wander in search of food and shelter. The echoes of lamentation are described by the poet as, so you see, the world had seen this ugly affair, which is also a scar in the face of humanity, that is war, and because of it many lives were lost, and many who survived were you know finding it difficult to survive. So there is a kind of echoing lamentation in the poem. So when the poet says, what is that sound high in the air, murmur of mental lamentation? So this lamentation that the poet is referring to is because of the wars, different wars that have shook the entire human civilization. The poet has given us a vivid picture of spiritual chaos of society after the First World War. F.R. Lewis, very important, remarked, vision of desolation and spiritual drought. So we can see this particular echoing lamentation in the poem, and the undertone that is filled in the poem, that is vision of utter desolation, devastation, okay, and spiritual drought. I. Richards remarked the plight of the whole generation. So in the examination this might be asked, okay, who said the following words, okay, that is the plight of the whole generation. You have to be very careful to remember the name I. Richards. That is the plight of the whole generation after he studied the poem The Wasteland. Now another thing that we find, another theme, sexual perversion. Sex, which is supposed to be an expression of love and procreation, but in the modern world, sex has become a means of animal pleasure and monetary benefits. It is also used for monetary benefits at times. So sex has become a source of degeneration and disease. It has become one of the obstacles in the man's spiritual progress. Easy sexual relationship is prevalent among all sections of society. The theme has been highlighted in the first section by okay, German princess affair, and in the second part, mechanical sexual relationship between typist girl and her boyfriend. The poet sums up, to Carthage, then I came, burning, burning. So these are the lines that we find in 307 and 308. Okay, and this means that the whole of Europe or whole of the world is burning or is being destroyed by the fire of sexuality. So this is a very important point you got to remember here. Now, theme of loss of faith and moral values. In ancient times, character and achievement were more important than money and position. But in the modern world, values have changed. Money is the god of the modern people. Values have changed where flattery is more important than merit. And this is very obvious of the modern civilization and society. Sex, gambling, and violence have become the part of the modern existence. The citizens of the wasteland are spiritually dead. Lack of human relationships. In ancient times, joint family system was in vogue or in practice. Today, nuclear family systems have ousted the joint family system, and the loyalty to community and nation no longer exist. People have become egoistic and self centered. Modern man is an embodiment of selfishness. Each one is imprisoned in his own self, as the poet says, very important this, we think of the key, each in the prison, thinking of the key, each confirms a prison. So the modern existence is summed up very nicely by the poet, where he says that we are all living in a prison, kind of a prison, okay, and there is that kind of lack of human relationship, okay, there is no kind of attachment or belongingness prevalent anymore. Okay, then we have theme of mental tension. Sex has become a source of tension and despair in the modern Wasteland. In the second section, a game of chess, the lady of situation is bored with her own life and has become extremely neurotic. Her lover too suffers from mental exhaustion, and that's very obvious. The modern, you know, modern day existence and modern day society is suffering from this kind of things. Okay, likewise, Lil has lost her interest in life. She's unable to hold a husband who wants more and more of sex. So, summing up, The Wasteland is a modernist poem where the poet eliminates the devastating after effects of World War First, right? So, these, I believe, you find the video helpful in understanding and critically appreciating the poem. Okay, thank you and happy learning.